Now Pedersen to blast all that hit. Diving save hard as he flashes across. Briere sets up Carl, side of the net, deflected, score! Briere moving in, stops, cuts to the middle, still has a shot! Score! Here's Hughes giving it across. Oh, what a save! Save by Maher! He's an angle! Short-handed mid! He scores! Up top, cruising is Provorov. He scores! Ivan Provorov!
What is going on, everyone? Welcome back to the Fired Up Podcast. I'm your host, Amedeo Grassia, along with my partner, Chris Maher. As always, we are live streaming on the Painted Lines, Flyers Fan Mania 93, and TTP Sports. And for people who can't tune into the live stream when it's on YouTube, it's always going to be on Apple, Spotify, wherever you listen to your podcasts at. And so we're coming off after the Flyers shootout loss to the New York Islanders. And I guess you can tell from the title of the podcast, pain. I think pain is a good word to describe everything that is going through right now in Philadelphia Flyers country. And Chris, if you want to give your little, snippet before we get into our tonight's discussions.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I think the month of April has looked better, but the result has still been the same. I mean, I don't know. I'm serious. I think they've played better hockey.
I agree with you. It's just that they play better. They're still losing.
Yeah, that's the thing. I mean, they've played better, but they're still losing games. I feel like there's a lot of times where they kind of give up chances. There's a lot of games where they have missed chances or whatever. 2-on-1s, breakaways, 3-on-1s, 3-on-2 rushes, deflections in front, not shooting the puck, whatever. I think they've done a really good job of activating their defense the last few games. The forecheck has looked good. The lines have been a little switched up. That G, Voracek, and TK lines look fantastic since being put together, and those guys have been on a show. Jake has 16 points in his last 15 games. I think TK has 15 or 16 in his last 17 as well. They've looked really good, and they've played a lot better. And I just think it's so frustrating because they're obviously in a hole, and the month of March absolutely is the reason why they're in this hole. It has nothing to do with them losing games to Boston or losing to the Islanders tonight or whatever. It's because you literally shot yourself on the foot for an entire month and you couldn't get out of it. So,
an historically bad month of March with the amount of goals you allowed just during that month in general. But before we get into our discussion for tonight, I want to bring in the sponsor for the Painted Lines real quickly, so you'll listen to that, and we will be right back in a couple of minutes.
Hey, what's up, guys? March Madness is here. The NBA and NHL are both in full swing. Baseball opening day is coming up, while we here at the Painted Lines are devoted to bringing you top-notch content from all the major sports. We are excited to also now give you the opportunity to cash in on all that content and knowledge. If you follow the link below, you will have the opportunity to sign up with BetRivers, an online sportsbook, and get an instant new user deposit match of up to $250. That's free money that you can use and try to turn into more free money. Let's go. Don't sit there and waste all that money. Turn every basket into an otherwise meaningless Cavs-Timberwolves matchup in on a random Wednesday in March. That makes it all the more exciting. For betting tips and advice, be sure to check out written content from our top prognosticator, Money Max, on our website at thepaintedlines.com, or check out the Tough Cover podcast right here on the Painted Lines YouTube channel. You've seen the commercials all over TV and radio, but now is the time. Sign up today with BetRivers using the link below and start cashing in on your love for sports. Using the link below will automatically inform BetRivers that TPL sent you, and you'll get that new user deposit match of up to $250. Don't miss out on this opportunity for some free money, baby.
Yeah, so definitely go and check that out. So I want to bring up something that I talked to Chris about like during the game tonight. And this was something that I tweeted out. I think it was the first game of this month of April against the Islanders where they lost in the shootout. So like my tweet was the month of March was just an absolute nightmare for the Philadelphia Flyers. And we'll just put that out there. And so now the month of April is going to be the month where the Flyers go to a ridiculous amount of overtimes. And sadly, I've been right 3 out of 4 times, and I hate that.
Yeah, and I love how the game that didn't go to overtime was the most important game of the season.
Yes. Like, of course, like when they need to get in that typical Flyers run where they're a little bit out of it, then they have to go on this gigantic run and push just to even try to sniff the playoffs on the last day of the season. They're going to literally every overtime possible. When you lose the first game of the month in a shootout to the Islanders, you go to overtime against Boston in the first game of the back-to-back. And like you said, Chris, of course, the other game on Tuesday night, they just don't go to overtime. They lose in regulation. And you get tonight's game where, once again, it was one of your better efforts of the season, and you end up losing in the overtime. And there are a lot of questionable things about this game as well. Definitely get into the situation with Sam Morin and his 5-minute major game misconduct. I personally don't think that should have been a game misconduct or a 5-minute major. I can argue, 2-minute minor, but I don't think it could have been a 5 minutes.
That's a penalty. It's a board.
Yeah, it is a penalty.
I think the only reason they gave him the 5-minute in the game was because Zizekas was injured at the time. Like, he didn't get up. But that being said, Sanheim was hit literally the exact same way in the third period, and then nothing. It's just not consistent. I mean, there's been they call a rough. I saw somebody on Facebook complaining about Morin and the penalties he takes. And like, dude, you got to realize Morin is 6'7".
Yeah.
And that push that he gave is a normal push to Sam Morin. To Zizekas, that's probably like getting pushed through a whole brick wall. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, I don't necessarily think Morin's trying to do that. It's just that's how he is. He's freakishly big. And I think it's easier to call penalties on Morin because he's bigger. And I mean, they called a rough on him the other night.
That was sad.
Yeah,
that was sad.
It's terrible. I mean, and he had no idea he was getting called. I mean, he literally sat on the bench. He was like, "What the hell was that?" Yeah, it was terrible.
Yeah, the refereeing this month especially has been really, really weird. Just been bad.
Is it me, or does it seem like they've been like afraid to call the game since the Tim Peel situation happened? They've been letting a lot of things go. They've been making a lot of questionable calls. It's like they're afraid to call the game.
That could probably be a consideration into that. I'm sure the Tim Peel situation had an effect because there's probably some refs that had like the same probably ideals that he has when he went into the games, but you never know. The refereeing this month in Flyers games just hasn't been good. Like when you literally see a puck that's obviously a delay of game and you don't call it, or when you see a guy literally close his hand on the puck and holds it for 2 seconds and then throws the puck onto the ice, apparently that's not a delay of the game. Or just like when both guys are literally getting tripped into the boards on both sides of the ice and nothing is called. It's just the refereeing just, even though it's not like a factor into the game at all, because majority of the Flyers games this month have went to overtime, but like, it's just that the overtimes are what it's more frustrating to me because they keep going to overtime, especially during that home and home with the Boston Bruins, because especially that the team you're fighting for the 4th place spot. Yeah. And you literally give them a point. So they gained 3 out of 4 points in that 2-game set, while you only gained 2 points.
I don't know what's more aggravating, the fact that they have all these chances or the fact that they still can't do a single thing on the power play. Like, they have opportunities, and it's not just, 5-on-5 or just power play. It's both combined. They had chances shorthanded tonight. I mean, they looked like they were on the 5-minute power play, not the Islanders. The Islanders maybe had I think they got 1 shot. Yeah,
the Flyers had a couple of shorthanded chances on those power plays, a couple of breakaways. They had
Hayes and Raffle 2-on-1, Lawton and Giroux 2-on-1, and a Raffle breakaway. Mm-hmm. And only one of them hit the net, and it was a Raffle breakaway, and it was a good blocker save.
Yeah. It's like I don't mind if it's a team like the Islanders. The Flyers are nowhere near catching them. I don't mind going to overtime against the Islanders. Get the 2 damn points. It's the overtimes you can't go to against the Boston Bruins, even though Saturday is the final time you play the Bruins. So
I think it's just so frustrating because they have so many chances.
Yeah.
Throughout the whole game.
And the Flyers were the better team in the overtime, and they couldn't finish.
Yeah, and they were the better team throughout the last 50 minutes of the game. I think since the 5-minute major, and they killed that off, got momentum, then got the quick goal from Albert Cabell. That gave them momentum, and they were able to kind of go from there. And I felt like for the most part, I mean, Islanders had 5-6 shots in the third. They might have had more in that last 2-minute surge there,
probably.
But for majority of it, they didn't test Hart much.
No.
And again, this is another one of those games where I'm trying not to yawn. Another one of those games where I think Hart looked good.
Yeah.
But it's the defense. Braun's like literally waving his stick at Eberle on the second goal.
And then you got Provorov falling down on the left side.
Yeah.
Turning the puck over.
Yeah. And then you have nobody picking up Nelson when he slides over on the open side and Hart's left out to dry. It's like,
and
the amount of times that happened. I mean, again, there was a tweet that Jamie Bascal put out this game, and he was like I forget what it read, but it was something about the defense it just isn't there tonight. I was like, it hasn't been there
the entire season.
It hasn't been there since like February.
And the more stuff that we talk about that gets repetitive with the team too, especially in the past couple of overtimes, especially the shootout. It's the same goddamn moves every time in the shootout. Literally, me and my dad are sitting on the couch and we're saying, okay, Coots is going to do this. Voracek's going to do this. Patrick's going to do this. And you know what? They did exactly what we said. And you know what happened? Nothing.
Yeah. I mean, the Islanders are the same moves too.
Yeah. But it's just this is my one gripe.
I don't even care about the shootout like that. It's like, I look at it as like Sorokin dude, that connecting goal goes in 9 out of 10 times on any other goaltender.
I'm just literally, Patrick, you come down the ice, you do the same thing every shootout attempt. You try to go right corner on the glove side, and it works 25% of the time. In the past few times you've done it, it hasn't worked.
I mean, G literally has the same 3 moves, and he does all of them.
But at least the only thing I don't mind G doing that because he's showing effort at least in the shootout. Some of our guys look like they just don't show effort in the shootout.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I'm not going to sit here and talk about the shootout because I just can't stand it. And it's not against your point, but it's just like, I hate it. I just absolutely hate it. I don't even want to think about it. It's terrible.
I don't blame you. It's a glorified skills competition that decides the games, which shouldn't be a thing.
It ruins hockey games. That was a good hockey game. That's a game that should have a 10-minute 3-on-3 at the end of it.
Yeah, and I know this is also coming from Flyers fans' bias because the Flyers, just in their history in the shootout, they're the worst team in the shootout in NHL history. But still, the shootout. I mean, everyone in the NHL can agree the shootout is not a good thing, and for some reason, Gary Bettman just doesn't want to get rid of it. I don't know why. Just extend the overtime to 7 minutes, extend it to 10 minutes. I think it's the fan thing. I think the fans like it. I mean, we don't. But I think the average hockey fan wants to watch the shootout. For some reason, I feel like a lot of people that don't watch hockey religiously, like the casual
shootout. Yeah, they like shootouts. I'm like, the shootout's horrible.
It's probably the worst design thing in the history of sports.
It's up there. I'm sure.
It's like
I don't know what's worse, that or the second base role in baseball right now.
Oh god, that is a goddamn gimmick, and I don't want to get into that.
Oh, it's terrible.
It is such a
it benefited the Phillies, but still, it sucks.
It's like putting baseball. Oh, you want to decide a game when it goes to the 50th inning? Okay, let's just do a home run derby or something like that. No,
yeah, it's like, oh well, how do we make the game quicker? Why don't we just put a guy on second base? No, why don't you put in a pitch clock?
I think they still do have a pitch clock.
There's no way they have a pitch clock.
I think it's 2 minutes.
There's some guys that sit there and could probably say a decade of the rosary and still throw a pitch.
It was funny too. Like I think it was during one of the Phillies games when the Flyers were on at the same exact time. I think like barely half of an inning lasted an entire intermission, and I thought I thought that was absolutely hilarious. But
Yeah,
but it's
it's
just that
incredible.
it is absolutely incredible, and just that I guess to get off a negative point for the time being, I guess we can bring up because one of the comments is talking about Carter Hart and how much better he has looked this past month after sitting those couple of games where Lane Vigneault just wanted him to focus on practice. And yeah, Hart has looked a lot better this month, and his overall confidence looks a lot better, and he's making those saves where he has to make them. And where it felt like in March, those types of saves he just wasn't making. But now it looks like he is making them, and he has the confidence back, which is a good sign. But now the team in front of him still isn't that good.
They're playing better defensively too, which is obviously helping. I mean, obviously, like the first, as I said, like the first like 10 minutes weren't great, but they didn't really give up anything that was crazy quality after that. To be honest, maybe. I mean, my guess. I apologize for the noise in the background. I don't know if you can hear it. I think maybe the Pollock chance, where he made the
nice toe save on the little short breakaway.
Oh no, that one, the Bavilier one, that was their best chance at the game.
Yeah,
and I'm talking about the Pollock one in the third where he kind of circled around and Hart kind of swallowed it. That was a good save. He had a couple other good saves. I can't really think of any like high quality chances though, besides the Bavilier play. Excuse me, where he literally that would easily would have been goal of the week. That would have been disgusting. He literally got through Lawton, the whole back check from Lawton, and went right through Ghost like it was nothing. Dude, quick thing, because I'm watching it right now. Nashville is on fire.
Yeah, they've been really hot as of late.
They've won what,
really
8 straight?
I think so. I think like 7 or 8 at this point. Like they've been. I know like a month ago they were talking about okay, they're probably going to solve some pieces. They're probably not going to make the playoffs, but now they're just in this insane hot streak. And who knows? Maybe they do. Maybe
the last 10. They're on a 3-game win streak.
Oh boy, who knows? Maybe they do. Maybe sell a piece or something. I wouldn't considerably say Nashville becomes a buyer at this point because they're still in that 4th place spot in the Central Division or something like that.
Yeah. But the thing is if they keep playing like this, they'll most likely lock up the 4.
Yeah.
Chicago is same amount of games played, 45 points. They've played the same amount of games as Florida, 41, and they're 9 points, and they're 11 points back of them.
Ooh.
So that's kind of shows you how far of a hole they were in. But they're finding their game and they're able to kind of get out of it. And I really want to see Chicago make the playoffs, just to see how that would be from last year, how they ended up beating the Oilers in the play-in round. And then I honestly want to see Kane in the playoffs. Like, as just like the pure hockey fan, I want to see Kane to bring it. You know what I mean? And like, I actually really like Nashville though. So at this point right now, I'm kind of like, if the Flyers don't make the playoffs, which they're not going to, kind of happy to just kind of, sit back and watch some games, enjoy some hockey, because it's I haven't been able to do that in a while, like without taking notes or worrying about a game or worrying about a team who loses, or you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I think as the season's kind of winding down, and I think it's kind of clear and obvious the Flyers aren't making the playoffs because Tuesday night's game against Boston was the mathematical dagger that I called it in my video. So I don't know, but yeah, I mean, Nashville's looking good. They won 7-1 tonight against the Red Wings. They had a 6-1 win against who was that against? They had a 6-1 win again at home a couple weeks back against the Red Wings again. They beat Tampa on the road 4-1. They beat Florida on the road 2-1. They've won a lot of good games. They've played good against top teams, and
nice.
It's something I wish the Flyers could do.
Yeah, well, we all wish that. We all wish that here at Flyers country, but from just the roller coaster ride that has just been this entire season, and now we're just like still on that downhill, I guess, or it's like it just keeps going up and down, up and down, up and down, or something like that, and that insane type of loop to where there is going to be some significant change with this team in the offseason, I feel, because like this also comes brought up from the 31 and 31 thoughts with Elliot Friedman, when like a lot of the talk from that like early part of the podcast was like him just discussing like what he expects the Flyers to do, most likely trade deadline and come off season. And he does expect the Flyers to make a couple of big moves in the offseason, shaking up the main core of this team. So that's something that can provide a little hope for this team, but then you're also going to get some of the other people who are, I guess, pessimistic because they don't trust Chuck Fletcher right now. And right now, I'm just going to let it play how it plays at this point and just do what you can to fix this team, because this team needs a major fixing, because you can't roll it back with the same roster next year, because we're just going to go through the same type of roller coaster. The make the playoffs, to miss the playoffs, to make the playoffs, to miss the playoffs. You got to find a way to get this team back into the consistency of making the playoffs every year if they want to become that true contender.
Yeah. He also brought up a good point about the management, and he said that obviously the Flyers have big faces in their organization, big names. Like Hextall's a big name, obviously. Holmgren's a big name. Bobby Clark's a big name.
Yep.
Who, still does some stuff with the team and everything, and like draft stuff. And at least I think that's what Clarky does still.
Yeah, I know he's like an advisor to the team. I'm not sure if he even has like say in their moves, but who knows, he might. But like,
I don't know, but I know he's obviously still with the team and everything. I remember him doing some stuff when they were taking pictures at the draft. I remember seeing him in pictures and stuff. So clearly he's still involved, but still, you get my point. Is that I think the management now is kind of going to let them figure it out. They're not as trying to push it, because I think they all kind of realize too that they're close. Yeah. And they can be a top team, and they believe in the group, and they believe in Fletcher and AV, and they want to make it work. I know everybody's talked Lawton. I could clearly see it. I know you brought it up to me the other day. You said the Leafs, Avs.
I think the Oilers.
Leafs, Avs, Oilers, and who's the other team?
I think Boston's another team that's interested in Lawton.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
I can't see Boston. I can't see Lawton going to a division rival. It's hard to trade Lawton, because he loves playing here. I think the thing is that it's harder to move those guys if they love playing in the city. So I don't know what's going to happen if they trade Lawton. I could see it happening. I've brought it up before the rumors even came out that maybe they trade a guy like Lawton, a veteran. He's been here a while. Mm-hmm. And I didn't bring this up on the pod or anything. I kind of just thought it to myself. I feel like I don't know what's going to happen, because he talked about on that podcast still. He said that he's always saw them as a 7-3-1, which was obvious, right? That was obvious because this was before all of this whole debacle of the season happened.
Yeah.
He said he could see them going to the 4-4, and they just pick their core guys and stick with that and try to make some moves.
Well, I thought he meant by that, like if they go out and get another like type of defenseman, if they go out and get a defenseman at the trade deadline, it would be more focused on the long term.
They pick some forwards, they move the rest of them, or they leave them exempt, and then they get that other defenseman. Or
that's focused on the long term more than the short term.
Or they just wait until the offseason and do it.
Yeah.
Which is, I still think that's what they're going to do. I think they're going to wait till the offseason. They are definitely making a trade. I will say that.
They're
100% making a trade. And speaking of that, I wanted to bring that up too, just for everybody listening and for the recorded stuff. We are doing a show Monday. Still working it out, everything. Don't know when we're going to do it yet. But we are going to do a trade deadline show Monday. Should be cool. Going to be doing a bunch of stuff with that. So that'll be exciting to do, because we haven't really done that, to be honest. We've never done like a live,
trade deadline coverage.
Yeah, we've never really done that. It was kind of
I kind of want to do it like in the closing hour and a half of the trade deadline, just because that's where majority of the moves are going to happen, I feel.
Yeah.
And like, I think that they'll just be like, oh, welcome to the Florida podcast. Oh, here's a trade. Here's another trade. Here's another trade.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and then we can get like our reactions. But I feel like it's going to be, I don't know, because I have a feeling it's going to be slow.
Yeah,
but I have a feeling there's just going to be like, it's going to be slower, but there's going to be trades that are like, okay, that team's going for it. Like you saw it with the Islanders.
Yeah.
Right. They get Palmieri and Zajac. Clearly, they're going for a cup. Clearly.
But then you're knowing that there's gonna be that one team that trades for Taylor Hall and stuff like that. There's definitely going to be a couple of these.
One.
Yeah, Savard's one.
He was out tonight's game for injury.
Ekholm is still a guy that's rumored to be traded. Mark Stahl from Detroit still rumored to be traded. Bernier still rumored to be traded or something like that. There's players around the league that can still get moved. So there's a lot of stuff that can happen on trade deadline day. And going back to Lawton and stuff like that, where do you see him, I guess, as a better fit for, I guess, the teams that are rumored to get him or rumored to want him or something like that?
I think Colorado will be a great fit. He would fit in Pittsburgh, and I would hate seeing him as a Penguin.
Ooh, I would hate that too.
Colorado will be fantastic, as I said. I think.
What about Edmonton? Do you think that'll bolster their depth more?
I think so. I think as a 3C, maybe even I think a third line, fourth line player. I think bottom six is where Lawton fits the most.
Yeah,
on teams like that,
especially to give guys like McDavid and Draisaitl who have been on fire this year. McDavid's like, even I don't think it's going to happen, but like, who knows like how close he can come to getting that 100-point mark in the shortened season? Because look, how many points? I think he's like in the 60-point range, is he right now?
I think so. Yeah, he's been incredible.
Yeah, like
I think Draisaitl have a hat trick the other night or 3 assists?
I think he did. I think he's even getting closer to 60 points too. If not, he might already be there. But like those two have just been flat on fire, and adding Lawton into that roster just to help them out will be a benefit for them too.
Yeah, Draisaitl right now has 22 goals, 39 assists.
Oof.
And he's on my fantasy team.
I would kill for a production player like that on the Flyers. I mean any team would kill for it. I would especially kill for that on the Flyers because we haven't had a player like that in so long that can just do that consistently. Oh man, I would kill for that.
I know, and that's the thing. I know. I hear what you're saying. I never always thought of it like that though. Like last year, everybody was like, oh, they need a goal scorer. Like, that's the one thing they don't have going in the playoffs. They literally had like 5-6 guys hit 20 goals last year. Everybody had some pretty decent, good offensive seasons. And some of the guys are still even on pace this year, even though they don't look like they are. Like Hayes, point-wise, is on pace, but he hasn't looked his best. I think he's played better recently, though. Look, I kind of want to get your thoughts on this. They got 17 games left. If they put a small winning streak, I'm talking like 4, maybe 5 games, they put that together, you think there's any chance they make the playoffs? Because again, hockey is the one sport where it doesn't, like, all you have to do is get in. We've seen that so many times. I could go on for an hour of teams that have, you know what I mean? Flyers in 2010 is one, St. Louis in 19 is another. I could go on, and that's just off the top of my head. But like, if there's any way that they pull out something, which I don't think they will. I think they've been out for a while now. Is there any chance they make it?
Personally, no. I don't think so
either.
Just because there's too many issues for this team. Even if they do go on a run and like happen to make the playoffs, their best is a first round team at this point. Who knows? Maybe Hart is like so insanely hot that he steals them the round, but even though I say that chances of that are slim still with the way the team plays. But at this point, have
a consistent deep pair for Provorov, and you're in game 39 tonight. Yeah. Next game will be game 40.
Yeah, just because I just don't. At this point, I'm just clocked down this team on making the playoffs. At this point, I just want their season to end at this point because I just need them to fix their problems.
Yeah. I think this is just a season that's like, it is what it is, and I'm actually not as mad as I was in other seasons like this because I think it's weird because I say that when they were supposed to be good.
Yeah.
But like now it's like I don't know how to describe it. I think it's just more of like I don't know how to describe this because I'm obviously I'm annoyed and I'm frustrated because they should be a top team in the league. They should be where the Islanders are or where the Capitals are. But like I just can't I just still can't wrap my head around how they're this bad and how it went like that so quick. Like I just still don't understand it. And there's just part of me that is just so confused of like how I don't know. I really don't know.
I think that's where you start bringing in the questions. Do they just need a culture shakeup? Is that culture in the locker room just to be at that point where maybe they get afraid because they've been so used to one year making the playoffs, one year missing the playoffs, one year making. Maybe the culture isn't the best that it could be, even though the guys in there probably say like, "Oh, we trust our group" and all that stuff. We don't know what actually goes out there in the locker room and stuff like that. And I personally think that the Flyers have too many nice guys on the team. I personally think that they need that guy, that leader guy, that veteran guy who is going to be an asshole. Who is going to be like what Pronger was. Pronger was an asshole in the locker room, but he knew how to get the boys going. We need that type of guy that knows how to get the boys going when they're playing bad and somehow get them to pick up their pace. And I don't think it's anything to do with the coaching. Maybe they do change up the coaching staff a little bit with the assistants. Maybe Michel Therrien's not here next year. I don't think it's Alain Vigneault. I just personally don't see it as a possibility that he already lost the locker room. At this point, this team has been through way too many coaches at this point to consider its coaching. And
well, I don't think it's coaching. I think I think it is fair to say he lost the locker room, though. I mean, I'm not going to blame. I'm not going to blame it on AV, but I think it's clear he lost the locker room. I mean, if you're losing the game 9-0, 8-3, 7-3, 6-1, 3 times.
But that's the thing. How does he lose the locker room after only being here 1 year when last year he was nominated for the Jack Adams Award? How does he lose the locker room already?
I have no answer for you. But
at that point, you have
he lost locker room.
At that point, you have to consider it's the players. It can't be the coach. Because I
don't agree. Because I don't see it as that. I see it as if they. Because look, they've only been with this group for 1 year. I think they're too young is the issue.
But like what you're talking about, like the younger guys as the group. Like I'm talking about more of the guys like Couture's been here for a while. Lawton's been here for a while. Giroux, I'm not blaming Giroux though, but Giroux's been here for a while. Voracek's been here for a while. They've been through so many coaches. They've been through Berube. They've been through Hackstall. They've been through Laviolette. Alain Vigneault is going to be their 4th coach. And they also been through Scott Gordon as well. Like, at that point, you do have to consider maybe a core shakeup is a possibility. And maybe bring in a different type of culture.
I think they have to do something with the veterans. I think they don't have enough veteran leadership. Yeah. But I think it's pretty fair to say that AV lost the locker room. I mean, do you seriously blame all of it on, obviously the players are, the ones at fault because they're on the ice and things like that. I mean, AV can't stop the defensive breakdowns that they have every night. But I think losing a game 9-0 means you weren't even ready to begin with. And I think that's part of my point here is that I think it's pretty clear that he lost the locker room, and I don't know when it was. I think he's made a lot of decisions that have been very non-AV like of what we saw last year. I mean, some of the things he's done with Hart have been odd, even though it's worked. Patrick on the 4th line, Ghost going from first pair to scratch for 3 games to 3rd pair to waivers. There's so many more that I could sit here and go through. Where last year it was like I wouldn't even necessarily even start to think of blaming AV for anything that went bad with his team. So I think it's kind of fair to say that he lost the locker room a little bit because I think he did. But I don't necessarily blame all of it. Obviously, to blame on everybody, but yeah, I think the players are most at fault, obviously.
Yeah, And when that's when you have to start talking about the possibilities of shaking up the core, maybe and that's more the stuff that you can't do with the trade deadline because no one's going to want to take on those types of contracts. If you're considering shaking up the core a little bit, that's something where you focus on after the expansion draft, maybe even who knows, maybe during the draft, after the draft, in the off season, stuff like that. You need to, if you're considering getting rid of a guy like a JVR, if you're considering getting rid of a guy like a Voracek, even though Voracek's contract, no one's going to want that unless you're taking a bad contract in return. It's with the guys on this team that have those contracts, you're not moving Drew because I just personally don't see Drew as a guy getting moved because I just feel like he's not the problem with the team, and he has a no movement clause, and I don't think he's going to waive that no movement clause. Kevin Hayes, he has a no movement clause. He's not going to waive that, and no one's going to take that contract, even if, say, he does. A guy like JVR, maybe a team consider it because he doesn't have that much term left on the contract. He only has, 2 years after this, isn't it? I think so. Am I right about that, Chris? He has 2 years left on this contract after this season?
Yeah.
Yeah, then you have, I think Voracek, he has 3-4 years after this season. So I know that. Yeah, I think that's not going to be really enticing to a team. And then you also got to worry about Couturier. His contract expires after next season. So the next worry is you're going to have to focus on re-signing Couturier. You know he's going to want some money, and that's going to be a big deal. So, and there's a bunch of other teams too in the NHL that you can describe in this situation as well. A team that really comes to mind, Calgary. Calgary is a team that has basically, they're in the same boat as the Flyers. They're a team that has really just hasn't lived up to the potential of what they can actually be. They've been miss the playoffs, make the playoffs, miss the playoffs, make the playoffs. And when they do make the playoffs, they're one of the better teams in the league. But when they miss the playoffs, they're really just inconsistent. They're not good. And really just, it's a struggle for them like it is this year. The same thing with the Flyers. And Calgary, there have been some rumors that they're considering possibly shaking up their core as well. Talking about guys like a Johnny Gaudreau, talking about guys like a Sean Monahan. Those guys can possibly see themselves out of the door in the offseason. And who knows, maybe, I know this is just a little pipe dream of mine having Johnny Gaudreau just come home to the Flyers, but you never know what could happen in the offseason. But there's a lot of options that this team can go for. And defense is definitely one of their major points they have to focus on. So do you think for defense, in terms of, do you think they should focus on more of trading to help the defense, or do you think they could tap into the free agent market this year to help the defense? Or is it a little bit of both?
They don't have money they have no money to do anything in free agency.
But that's the thing. What if they do manage to shed some type of salary? What do you think could happen then?
I think the only way they shed salary is if they get the same salary back. Because in a flat cap, you're not moving 8.25 is Jake?
I think so.
G is an $8 million. They're not moving those. JVR, Hayes, they're not moving those contracts.
Maybe you do get lucky and Seattle takes one of them.
That's the thing.
That's you have to get lucky with Seattle with that too. I'm sure Seattle's not going to be really willing to take that, but you never know. Maybe you can entice them with a trade or something like that. Hey, if you take this guy, we'll also give you this just so you could take this contract off our asses or something like that. But it's literally just a shot in the dark right there. But there's going to be something that's done with the core. We all know this, but it's like what you said, Chris. It's going to be difficult because of how teams aren't going to be willing to take these types of contracts for nothing. Say if you're trading a JVR, you're going to have to take a somewhat closer, similar contract in return to what JVR is making. A guy that's making maybe $6 million on a team, a guy that's making $7 million on a team.
Is it weird to you that people think that when Giroux was going to get re-signed, that he'll get $2 million? Is that weird to you? I think easily G could still get $6-7 million.
He's going to be a little.
He got $7 million at 34.
That's also true. But yeah, Giroux's going to be a little bit older. Yeah, he's been playing really well this season, especially as of late. Even though you don't know what he's going to be next year, even though he's still going to be Claude Giroux, maybe he takes a little bit of a pay cut. I don't see him nowhere as what he's making right now. Maybe he makes between the $4 and the $6 million range, I would say. I would say that's where he's around.
Yeah, and again, I it's just things like I just don't understand why people still blame about G and Jake when they've, to me, been one of the handful of the positive things that have come from the team this year.
I think what people blame Jake for more is his contract, because definitely Jake hasn't the past few years hasn't played up to what an $8 million contract of what he's making. Like, he hasn't been, when he signed that contract, he was one of the best players in the league. He was point per game at that point, and Hextall signed him to that $8 million deal. And really, he's been hovering around the 60 point, 70 point range, which is really good. It is really good, but maybe I would say Jake could probably be more worth around the 6 to 7 mil range. And I think people are more outraged because when they think of an $8 million player, they're thinking of a guy that's always point per game consistently. He's always tops in the league, and just Jake's not that type of player, sadly.
Yeah, I mean, I guess. I don't know. I don't necessarily, I don't know. I mean, I think for the most part, it's just they just don't like him. It is what it is. And again, it's the same thing with Giroux. It's the same thing with Jake. It's like nobody knows what goes on in the locker room, but they have 40 million things of what they could say about why this team is bad and how that they're apparently not leaders, which still boggles my mind. Because again, there's been clearly many times where I've seen them do things that leaders do, and it's like I saw the other night there was people saying like something about Bergeron in that game where he falls in overtime and then has the great game on Tuesday. But let's just forget the fact that G has had a handful of games where he's shown that he essentially put the team on his back. That game against Pittsburgh earlier in March.
The game against the Islanders last week.
The game against the Islanders. There was another one too. I can't remember what one it was and who they played. But there's been a handful of games.
Like, we know most of this point, it's mainly cap hit with Voracek that people hate him. That's why. If he was making,
everybody says the same things about them too. It's like their contract, or they don't shoot enough. It's the stupidest thing.
Well, the shoot enough. It's just a stupid argument because they're not that type
so
of player.
Stupid. Yeah,
they're not that player. Like, even though, yes, I'm going to, like, when Jake's wide open to shoot, I'm going to yell, "Shoot, Jake! Why didn't you shoot?" But still, overall, he's not a shooter.
Yeah.
And
even still, you know what? Listen, I'm looking through Twitter as we're doing this.
Oh God.
And I'm seeing somebody in our group chat on Twitter was talking about AV on the post game tonight.
Mm-hmm.
And I kind of wanted to play a clip here because someone was saying that he got upset at one of the questions from Charlie O'Connor. And again, I'm not trying to harp on Charlie for his question or anything.
Mm-hmm.
But I think it's just kind of clear that they're getting tired of losing games and they're showing emotion and stuff. So I was going to play the clip, but my phone doesn't for some reason I can't get the VOD. I hit play and then it stops. So that's a wash. So I can't get that to work.
Yeah, but there's a comment right here from a Joel Farah meme saying that, oh yeah, he got mad because they asked him about March.
Yeah. I'm gonna try to refresh the video and maybe see if it can work, because I just want to kind of see what AV says.
Yeah, and while you're doing that, I'm going to look at some of the comments here from the chat, because we really haven't tapped into it this year. We got some comments saying some people have no idea what the Flyers are going to be doing at the trade deadline. That's understandable. I think at this point you're more looking to sell more than buy, but you never know. I still think the Flyers do a little bit of both, selling, buying more towards the future. Got some comments talking about the Morin incident and how it shouldn't have been a 5-minute major. Do you get it working, Chris?
Yeah.
Finished.
Okay.
So that was the difference.
Can you hear it?
Ed Barkowitz, you're on with Elaine. Go ahead.
Ed. Hey, Elaine. Elaine, can you just explain your decision to...
Did I miss it? I might have missed it.
Might have.
We got some great looks. We weren't able to finish, and they were able to finish. So that was the difference in tonight's game.
Ed Barkowitz, you're on with Elaine. Go ahead.
Ed. Hey, Elaine. Elaine, can you just explain your decision to move Oscar up?
I clicked the wrong game. That was my bad. Sorry about that. That was a total waste of time.
Good old bloopers. And that's going to stay in the edited version.
Of course
on
it is.
Apple.
Because why wouldn't you take that out? Here we go.
It was a chop.
Charlie O'Connor, you're on with Elaine. Go ahead.
Hey, Charlie.
Hey, Elaine. Kind of thinking back to the beginning of March, when you guys were playing.
Charlie, if you want to talk to me about tonight's game, I got no issues. Going back to the month of March, I'm not doing that.
Got it.
What do you know about tonight?
I guess my question is that you guys are playing well from a process standpoint right now. The results aren't getting there. How do you keep the guys from getting frustrated, and then the process kind of falling apart?
Yeah, that's a good question. And it's what we've been talking to the group about is not looking ahead, looking at what's in front of you. And what's in front of you is the game that you have to play. Tomorrow, we're going to have a quick skate. We got an afternoon game on Saturday against Boston. That needs to be our focus. So we're going to focus on Boston. We're going to focus on what we need to do to play well, to give ourselves a chance. I thought we played real good game that last game. I thought we deserved a better outcome. Their top players came through for them. We need to focus on our next game, and that's what we're going to do.
Take two.
Yeah.
So I think they're. I think he's kind of getting tired of hearing about March, and I don't blame him.
I'm sure the entire team is.
Oh yeah,
they want to forget March as much as possible.
Yeah, and again, it's nothing against Charlie. I like Charlie what he does. It's just I think they're clearly showing emotion, and I'm certainly not opposed by it.
I don't blame them.
No,
I don't blame them.
It's frustrating. They're losing games that they should be winning, and they need points. They're not getting it, and.
They're consistently giving points to the opposition by going to overtime.
Yeah. And I think that can get annoying at times when you constantly ask the same things about the same every night. And
we got a comment from Selkie right here saying, like, if we can only take $2 million off of Voracek's cap hit and use it for our needs. I mean, I kind of wish that the NHL would allow salary or contract restructuring like what the NFL does. But I know that's never going to be a thing. That would make lives a lot easier if teams could restructure contracts in the National Hockey League. But I doubt that's ever going to happen. But it would be nice. It would get the Flyers out of this kind of weird contract situation that they have with a lot of their players. But I'm sure this team they want to forget about March. They want to not think about March. I'm sure March has been. It's probably the worst month. They don't want to experience March again. That's probably the summary of the entire point. And yes, that picture by Jake there just summarizes their entire emotion. Just literally, he's not even wearing that hat properly. It's just literally hovering over his eyes.
He looks so thrilled, doesn't he?
Yeah, he looks very enthusiastic. March just hasn't been a good month for this team, and sadly, April just hasn't gone the way that it has, even though they have played a lot better. But sadly, at this point, playing a lot better and you're still not getting the results, it's just not acceptable at this point because you need to get those points, and technically you still are in this playoff race, even though now you're slowly getting yourself out of that picture because you're losing these games now. And you got to get, and it's still weird too. I'm surprised that they're actually getting some practice time tomorrow because you play today, then you play the weekend twice. You play Saturday against Boston, and you play Sunday against Buffalo. I'm surprised they're getting practice time tomorrow, not an off day. Actually,
they need practice.
Yeah, I know they need practice. I know that, but
yeah, I mean they did just have 2 days off, and they have no. I don't think they have any time for a day off right now.
I actually think they have. I think it's like in a week or two. I think they actually have 3 days off for once. I think like in next week or the week
off without watching a Flyers game.
I think they have like a Sunday, Monday, and a Tuesday off. I think I had to look at the calendar once again because I know I remember seeing it like before we started the pod. It was something that was just
week will be the happiest I've been in a long time.
Yeah, it's the week after the trade deadline. They're off the 19th, 20th, and the 21st after they play a Sunday game against the New York Islanders.
Oh, thank God! They play the Islanders again.
Yeah, they play that 18th on the Sunday. That's the Sunday after.
I thought tonight was the last game against the Islanders.
No, we're close.
I thought the Flyers tweeted something like it was the last game against them.
Yeah, if we look at the rest of the schedule, so we got Saturday against Boston, Sunday against Buffalo. Both of those are home games. The 13th, the day after the trade deadline, they play the Capitals. 15th, they play Pittsburgh. Both of those games are on the road. Then the 17th and the 18th, Saturday and Sunday, they're both home games against the Islanders and the Capitals. And then the Flyers will have those 3 days off. Then they'll have a back-to-back road trip, the 22nd and the 23rd against the Rangers. They'll be back at home the 25th. That's a Sunday against the Devils. On the 27th on the road. This is a 4-game stretch against the Devils. So Sunday home, Tuesday and Thursday on the road, Saturday home, which is May 1st. Then they have 2 back-to-back home games, the 3rd and the 4th of May against the Pittsburgh Penguins. Then they have a back-to-back road games on the 7th and 8th against the Capitals. And then they close out the season on the 10th of May against the Devils.
You want to talk about something more positive?
What is positive?
My fantasy team.
What is positive about your fantasy team?
So, okay. I was 3-4, right?
Yes.
Or 3-5, sorry. I've won 4 straight. I'm now 7-5. I am tied for second in my division. I'm on, as I said, 4-game win streak. And I'm absolutely lighting this guy right now who doesn't set his lineup. I put up 27.7 points tonight. G and Jake have literally been insane. I have Draisaitl still. I've just been an absolute wagon. The other night, I put up 46.5 points in one night.
Yeah. I think if you have Draisaitl in your lineup, you're going to be, I guess, in a better spot to win than not, I would think.
Yeah, I think picking up Kaprizov from the Wild was the best decision I ever made. That guy has been absolutely lights out. He gets a goal just about every game.
Yeah,
or he at least gets a goal or 2 assists. He at least gets me a handful of points every game.
Yeah, Kaprizov has just been like on another level. For the Wild have been like so surprisingly good this year. They're like the funnest team to watch.
I know, man. They look really good. I can't wait to see them in the playoffs.
And wasn't Kaprizov a 5th-round pick?
I don't know.
Wild?
He took a long time to develop.
I think he was because he played in the KHL, and I know the KHL has these weird restrictions with their contracts before their players can come over. I think he was a 5th-round pick. I think he was a Chuck Fletcher pick too. So
with the way that they're playing, they could win the division. Yeah, but the other 2 teams, like the Avs and the Knights, are so good. I saw a tweet the other day by Dmitry. I'm going to butcher this. I'm not even going to try. I think it's like Filipovich or something like that.
Yeah.
The Avs were like 13-0-2 in their last 15. They outscored opponents like 64-22. Like, man, that is insane.
I would love that type of production from my hockey team.
Oh my god,
I would love it. I've never experienced that before in my life. Consistently, at least.
Yeah, dude, it's literally insane. Like, and someone like an Avs fan commented, he was like, "I'm just expecting like a blowout, complete blowout loss. It just hasn't happened yet." And I think last night was it? They lost 8-3. That's so Wild.
Well, there you go. He jinxed it. That's why.
Yeah, because I think there's been a lot of games that they've had that's kind of been like they haven't looked too good and they still won.
Yeah,
or it was like a close game. But man, they're insane. They're so good.
And honestly, I want to look at the standings right now too. So if we look at the Eastern Division, we all know how that's playing out as of right now. Islanders are in first place at 56 points. The Capitals, they're in second place with 54 points. Pittsburgh, they're in third with 52. Boston is in fourth with 48. And the Flyers, they're the team sitting in fifth place. They have 42 points and a minus 25 on the goal differential mark. That's what happens when you lose to teams multiple times in a score of like 9-0, 8-3, 6-1, 6-1, 6-1, 6-1, multiple times during a season. And the Flyers have a worse goal differential than the New Jersey Devils. That's shocking.
Yeah, that's what happens when you give up 75 in 1 month. And at that point, the Bruins gave up 72 the whole season.
Yep. And you have sixth place, the Rangers, 1 point behind the Flyers with 41 points. The Devils in seventh place with 34. Then you got the lonely Buffalo Sabres with 24 points. Go to the Western Division. Colorado, first place, 56 points. Vegas Golden Knights, second place, 52 points. The Minnesota Wild, 50 points in third place. The Arizona Coyotes, fourth place with 43 points. And you got the St. Louis Blues. They're very close to the brink of 500. They're 17, 16, and 6 with 40 points. Jeez, it hasn't been a good year for St. Louis.
No.
It really hasn't. San Jose, 6th place, 38 points. The Los Angeles Kings, they lost their spark from the beginning of the season. They have 36 points. And the Anaheim Ducks, they're in last place with 31. Go to the Canadian division, or as they call it in the NHL, the North Division. The first place team, Toronto Maple Leafs, 57 points. Second place team, Edmonton Oilers, 52. Winnipeg Jets, third place, 51 points. And the Montreal Canadiens in fourth place with 43. And then speaking of Vancouver, the situation with Vancouver and their COVID problem, my God, they are getting torched with COVID. It's not even funny. Just how many players they've had.
19, I think.
Yeah, I think it's like players, coaching staff. Like I know, like there was like even rumors that like it's gone so bad to where the NHL even considered possibly not even finishing the season for them. It's gotten that bad. But I think like they've made a statement or something like that their earliest they can play is next week, I think. So hopefully
they made a signing today too. They re-signed Tanner Pearson.
They did, and a lot of people are mad about that. Especially
everybody's mad about whatever Jim Benning does. Yeah,
a lot of Canuck fans hate Jim Benning because I think the problem is that Pettersson and Quinn Hughes ELCs expire after this season, and they might not have that much money to sign both of them. Because Pettersson's probably going to demand a little bit of money, and
that most likely means they're already planning on not re-signing some guys.
Yeah, I think the biggest
they're not letting Pettersson and Hughes walk. That would be the stupidest thing I've ever seen.
I think the biggest contract that's coming off their books is $6 million. I think that's it. I'm not sure what other players come off, but I know it's one of their defensemen that's like making
Edler.
$6 million. I think so, and he comes off this year, but. Even though I think right now their cap space is exactly 0. And that's what the last time I saw on Cap Friendly, it was 0.
Wow.
Unless I'm like reading.
I thought the Flyers were poor.
Oh, jeez. Yeah, so yeah, Vancouver, they're going to have to make a lot of decisions to get Pettersson and Hughes to the contracts they want to be signed to. So. And the rest of the Canadian division, we have Calgary in 6th place with 35 points, and the Ottawa Senators in 7th place with 30. Go to the Central Division, and it's a very top-heavy division, very, very top-heavy. Top 3 teams, all separated by 1 point. Carolina Hurricanes in 1st place, they have 57 points. Tampa Bay Lightning, they're in 2nd place, they have 56. Florida Panthers, they're in 3rd place, they have 56 points as well. Nashville Predators, they're in 4th with 45. Chicago Blackhawks, they're in 5th with 41. Dallas Stars in 6th with 38. It's weird, too. They have 38 points, but they're a +5 on the goal differential. Shocking. And they're at 7th place. You got the Columbus Blue Jackets with 38 points, and good old Patrick Laine has been a good old struggle there for Columbus, and shocker there. Then you got the Detroit Red Wings in 8th place with 32 points. I know like the whole situation with Patrick Laine and Columbus right now, with Tortorella, is they're trying to convert him into a power forward or something like that, and it's just not working.
Why are you trying to change a guy who's literally been proven to be a sniper?
I don't know. It's Tortorella, man. It's Tortorella. He does a lot of crazy things to try to change his. Like I know, like he's trying to. I think he tries to make their team defensive minded first, and I'm sure he's trying to convert Laine into that, and that's just not who Laine is. He's a guy that's not going to be the best defensively, and he's going to shoot the puck. That's all he is.
Yeah. They've said his game has gotten better. Like, he hasn't looked bad. Like, the points, like, haven't come, and he's had, like... I've been kind of following up on it. It doesn't seem like... Like, it seems like he's kind of getting a lot of heat for it.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know, man. I think it's tough to play in Columbus, and I said it from the beginning. I think everybody did. It wouldn't have been a good fit for him. I think all of us said he would struggle there, and that's kind of clear.
Yeah, we all know the situation come up. Players just don't stay there, and Laine's most likely not going to stay there. Honestly, I don't think Seth Jones is going to want to stay there when his contract runs out. It's players or people that are quote unquote stars in this league. If they play in Columbus for their beginning of the career, most likely they're not going to stay. Rick Nash didn't stay. Panarin didn't stay. Bobrovsky didn't stay. Columbus is just not that
traded.
Voracek got traded, but that wasn't his fault.
No, but one of the coaches told him that he would never last in the league longer than 2 years after 2010.
Oh, wow.
And in 14-15, he put up 81 points. He brought it up on Spit and Chicklets.
Uh-huh.
And he didn't mention the coach, but someone said it to him. And he said something like, I think like that's going real well for him right now. And they all started dying laughing. Because this was last year, like after the Flyers' good season and everything. It was so funny.
Yeah, that's Spin Chiclet's always a fun time.
I love looking at that picture of Jake. He's like, just doesn't want to be there.
We're getting closer towards the end point of this episode of the Florida Podcast, because right now it is almost midnight, and I can see Chris on the other side of the screen yawning. So I think that's our cue to end this little shindig. So Flyers losing the shootout 3-2 to the New York Islanders. Still, even though the Flyers have been playing a lot better as of late, they're not getting the results, and the results are what matter the most. And the trade deadline is getting closer and closer and closer. And like what we said earlier in the podcast, we're definitely planning on doing a stream on trade deadline day. We just got to figure out the time and gist of all of that. So we'll let you know at a future date. So for this episode of the Florida Podcast, thank you for everyone for joining tonight. I know it's late, but the Flyers, they're the Flyers. So that's what we talk about here. And they cause nothing but everlasting pain. And that's been the life of the Flyers fans so far this season. And it's probably not going to get any better until the offseason, until this team actually decides they want to make some changes to this roster. So we'll be back here at the Florida Podcast for trade deadline day. Definitely stay tuned for that live stream. We will update you on that. And like we said, thank you for tuning into this episode of the Florida Podcast. Don't forget to check us on our different social media platforms. On Twitter, _Chris Maher for Chris. And for me, it's Amedeo Grassia 98 on Twitter. And then for YouTube, Flyers Fan Mania 93 for Chris. TTP Sports for me. Don't forget to check out the Panda Lines on every platform: Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, everything. Go check them out. Go check out the sponsor from XL Media, BetRivers. Definitely go check that out. And for this episode of the Florida Podcast, I'm your host, Amedeo Grassia. He's been Chris Maher. And we will see you on trade deadline day. So see you later, everyone. Thank you for joining.